In these examples, we're going to look at how to find the scale factor in the center of dilation. So for the first example, it says that we have a dilation centered at O, as shown at the right. The image of triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is given. So if OA is 3 units and A prime is 6 units, so those are marked in the diagram, what is the scale factor of this dilation? So that means the image is triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So you can look to compare from ABC to A prime, B prime, C prime, that there was definitely an enlargement that occurred because it got much bigger. And then if the center of dilation is O, that means you're measuring all of the distances from that center, so from point O. So you started with from the center to A was 3 units. And then, so if we're trying to find the scale factor, it means that we took that distance of 3 and we're multiplying it by the scale factor in order to get the new distance, which will be from O to A prime. So whatever the scale factor is, you always multiply it by the old distance. So it's the old distance times the scale factor will give us the new distance. And when I look at this picture, the new distance would be from O to A prime is going to be 9. So 3 times the scale factor had to equal 9. So when you solve this, divide both sides by 3, you get that the scale factor had to be 3 to start. Example number 2 says to find, so you're given triangle ABC after dilation centered at the origin. So again, we know the starting place is at the origin, so at 0, 0. We want to determine what the scale factor of the dilation is. So again, you're going to start at the center of dilation and you're going to go to the original triangle, and then you're going to go to the new triangle and you're going to decide what happened. What do we have to multiply by? So if you look, the distances to go from the center to B, you had to go over 1 and then up 2. When I compare that to the distance to go from the center to B prime, I had to go over 2, up 4. So we went, the old distances were left 1, up 2. The new distance was left 2, up 4. So that means those distances doubled. So since the distances doubled, distances from center doubled, we know that the scale factor would have to be 2. So that means you multiplied those distances by 2. Remember, when you're doing dilations, you're always multiplying that distance by the scale factor from the center because everything's getting expanded or contracted from that center point. Now, keep in mind this one, it's really the distances that doubled. It's really this distance here doubled with this distance. But when I go to count, I don't want to count diagonally. I want to count horizontally and vertically. So that's why I did this method for this type of problem. If you look at the example 3, when I go to look at the distances, it's a little bit easier because now I have horizontal and vertical lines that I can just count along. So for this one, it's asking what is the center of dilation? Well, when you just look at this, you can see that everything is being pulled from C and C prime. So everything is being pulled from that point or being contracted from that point. Also, since C and C prime are the same points, that would be the center because if you have a point on the center of dilation and you dilate it, that point will not change. It's going to stay on the center. So the center of dilation will be point C, which is the coordinates 2, 4. And then the scale factor, we're going to use the same process that I did for number 1. You could use a counting method where you decide how much did you go over and up, same idea. But if I'm looking at from C, so basically you want to compare the distance from C to B. We start with that. I had to go 4 units. So the original distance was 4. So it's 4 times K had to have given me the new distance from C to B prime. So the distance from C to B prime, which is the image after the dilation, was 2. So 4 was the original length times the scale factor equal 2. So if you divide both sides by 4, you get K equals 2 over 4, which reduces to 1/2. So the scale factor is 1/2. Now, keep in mind too, you could have just counted it. You could have said, okay, I went left 4, and then I went left 2. Well, I went half as much, so the scale factor is 1/2. And it doesn't matter which points you pick for these. It's going to be consistent. So you really only have to do it with one set of pre-image and image points.